question concerning the horizontal transcendence. As you contrast it with vertical transcendence, which is about an unreflected power dimension with a higher spiritual God or something, I have a question about it. How should a discussion, which is essential in my view for the horizontal transcendence, take place, as it is an unmoderated interaction between individuals, and as Levinas says, or at least I'm under the impression that he says, that there is no place, any place for rules, because the appearance of the other completely fills my world with the awareness of him or her. So, is it possible to formulate any kind of rules for moderating this event, such as the normative debate you described on the hand of Jürgen Habermas' theory of communicative action in your book, De Waarheidsrechten, and so forth and so on?
Yeah, well, thank you for a very interesting question. But I'm not sure whether I have gotten the core of it, so I try an answer and then you correct me. I would say that Levinas' work is a very impressive and important articulation of transcendence. So he develops his own language in discussion with a long philosophical and religious tradition, in which he articulates a specific experience of transcendence, the face of the other, and interprets this experience in an ethical and moral horizon. And this is a big difference with for example, Habermas, who does not try to articulate transcendental experiences and then formulate an ethics, but who tries to deliver a quasi-transcendental analysis in which the deep structure of language can be rationally understood as having moral implications. So in this sense, Habermas is completely on the side of the rational enlightenment, and he only brings into play our rational forms of insight and of dialogue and of discussion, and also implies that this rational analysis leads to a necessary conclusion. There is a deductive movement going on there. Whereas Levinas clearly tries to inspire the reader, to performatively evoke the power of the face of the other and the insight with the reader that indeed the face of the other, of the innocent, vulnerable other, has a transcendent value for all of us. So in my analysis of the complex enlightenment, Levinas would tend more towards the other side. So but of course both are philosophers, and they do not present themselves as representative of Levinas does either of a religious tradition. It's a philosophical analysis of this religious tradition, whereas the traditions of the inner enlightenment I refer to specifically have primarily this narrative structure. They develop narratives about the origin of the cosmos, about the future of our world, about other worlds, about exemplary existential experiences. So philosophy, in a certain sense, is occupying the middle ground between these two traditions, and can bend more towards the one, and bend more towards the other. I I think if you analyze the work of Raidotti and the development of it during the last 25 years, you see that her specific form of philosophy opens itself gradually more towards this other form of enlightenment, but well, also, just now I start the discussion with Rosa, but there is a certain hesitance there also, and justified so from a philosophical standpoint, because this is the transition, I think, between philosophy, literature, religion, spirituality, and at a certain moment you leave the province of philosophy and you start with what we would call testimony. Delivering a testimony about your deepest convictions and about what you hope for the world and what you want others to involve it. And I think most philosophers would say, no, this is no longer philosophy. This leaves
The problem is, I still have that the horizontal transcendence is, as well as the vertical transcendence, it is unreflected, the interaction between actors, at least how I presume it. And it could be not true. Because it's sharing experiences which are essentially personal. You speak about necessary distance. So we cannot come over the bridge once, because then the experience is gone, the interaction is gone. And so my question is actually, I guess, what is the positive difference from vertical transcendence? What do we get from it?
It's good to underline that this distinction is an effort to clear up a very convoluted discussion a little bit. And I have my own doubts about the productiveness of this distinction, but for me it has an illuminating effect and an important background of introducing this kind of distinction is that I want to do two things at the same time. On the one hand, I want to keep a connection with people with deeply religious beliefs. I want to take serious their inspiration and the potential moral value of their stories and their worldviews, etc. In contrast to secular humanists who think this is all nonsense and superstition and etc. So I want to have a philosophical framework which enables me to articulate the importance of what they are doing, and this is that they have a framework and a tradition and stories and metaphors which point towards a transcendent horizon and which point towards moral values which would realize our connection with this horizon. And this is for me very important in our society. But then on the other hand, I also want to be able to criticize forms of transcendence which absolutize their own framework, which absolutize their own tradition, and which ask for obedience. So for me, this horizontal transcendence is not completely horizontal. It's a horizon which is a little bit above and then you see that most articulation of transcendence they have this tendency to get higher and higher and then get up in the air and totalize themselves. So when you are there, you're not my friend, but when you are here, I can take you seriously, but then you have to accept that there are other articulations of transcendence which are also important and viable and productive. So you have to get a little bit smaller in your pretensions, but not losing your tradition, not losing your language, not losing your metaphors, not losing your stories. So this is the search, but okay, it's complicated.
Coming in from the law, you're worried about the lack of an authority point, or the transcendence at the moment of judgment. Is this some of the anxiety?
It's not a problem I have, but it's more, I see you make this distinction, and if it's about uncontrolled, unreflected power, then I think of power, I immediately think about Habermas and the communicated action and the prerequisites for communication, equality, and so forth and so on. So that's the background of the question. It's not something I really
But if you think with Kunneman and more in the Foucauldian tradition, behind it there is a very different political ontology. That doesn't assume a relationship to the political or the social that is either mediated by reflexive reason or judgment for that matter, but it assumes an intimacy with the world. And I think that is more the post-phenomenological tradition. The moment you talk about intimacy with the world, you're already exiting a whole set of more rationalistic premises, Kantian premises. I think we need Bataille for this. We need Blanchot even before we get on to the post-structuralist masters, and then the conversation really changes. The terms of the debate change. This is how I would read horizontal transcendence, but it's Harris reading of also about big feminist traditions. So continue.
This question of horizontal and vertical transcendence, if I understand you correctly, your objection to the idea of horizontal or vertical transcendence is that posits a source of values which is authoritarian, which demands obedience.
Yes.
And in place of that, you suggest a vertical transcendence, horizontal transcendence.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not quite clear. Maybe you can explain a little more by giving some examples of what you mean by horizontal transcendence, and how does horizontal transcendence avoid being authoritarian in that sense. Furthermore, of course, what you are also pleading for is a pluralism. That there are various sources, alternative sources of value. But is it possible to give a reasonable argument why you consider one better than another? Or are they all equally good? Is it just a relativistic position that you defend? Or because then it seems to me then it becomes unreasonable. So I would suggest that various forms of transcendence, whether horizontal or vertical, should be open to argument in the sense of what are your considerations, why you consider the one more satisfying than the other.
Maybe I could best start with your last very interesting remark, but also problematic remark, I think, where you say that all forms of transcendence should be opened up to argument. Because here we get into the fascinating problematic of the relation between cognitive forms, cognitively articulated forms of knowledge and insight on the one hand, and narrative forms and figurative forms.
Now that I think is a very important distinction.
Absolutely.
Because I think that when we talk about focuses of value, then we necessarily have to go into the sphere of narratives. I mean, this isn't straightforwardly cognitive.
But you can very well argue with narratives, can you?
No, but you could. You can't argue with narratives, but you could say that certain narratives are more satisfying than others, or more adequate to the issues of life.
I agree completely. Yeah.
I mean, there are pragmatic arguments.
Yeah.
Not a question of cognitive proofs.
Yes.
Because it's not a cognitive issue in this sense.
Okay, here we are in the heart of my search in this idea of complex enlightenment as embodied and realized in professional practices. Because On the one hand, we have here these notions of transcendent values. And you ask me in horizontal sense for an example. Well, an interesting example for me is the theory van de presentie van Andrew Baart. This is developed against a pluralist Catholic background. The examples are from pastors in working in Prachtweken. And the central values articulated are commitment, trust, respect, well, all these kind of dialogical and moral virtues, which are presented as the core of good work in healthcare and which is very influential in Dutch discussions, which is welcomed by many professionals as a articulation of deep intuitions and deep values in their work for which they had no language or no respectable language, no language which they could present to managers. You are making it impossible for me to be present in my work, and read this book of Baart of 1,000 pages. And so there is this connection between on the one hand, a transcendent perspective on good care, which could be explicated very easily in Levinasian terms, I think, and on the other hand, a notion of good work. And here my answer to your second question would be located. Doesn't the pluralism end in a relativism? And for me, this is the big importance of connecting this discussion on post-secular society and post-secularism with concrete practices. Because there we have a pragmatic criterion.
Yeah. And it is both fairly rational in society, where people would go, I don't know what they would think, mystical, fuzzy, or in science, much more. I can think of our own resident secularist crusaders, Herman Phillips, who really seriously believes that anything that smacks of post-secularity makes you stupid. And whether we could expand a bit on this, connected to two other points you made. One was the professional philosopher's dismissal of all of this, because philosophy is so much married to critical reason and self-reflexivity that anything that steps outside it is based on insight or vision, or what Cornel West would call the prophetic dimension, or Donna Haraway calls empathy, just gets killed dead on arrival, because this is not what professional academics, philosophers should be doing. Whether this goes beyond fear and it becomes something else would be my question here. But then, to be more self-critical, is there not a real difficulty of expressing in any language at all, and you mentioned that yourself, some of the insights or the illuminations that come from exploring complexities or human interaction? So it sort of cuts two ways. So there's three questions in one. You can choose to ignore whatever.
Yeah, well, the first part I find very illuminating in the references to West and Haraway. I think very productive. But maybe to your second remark, well, I think I do not have more to offer than a repetition of a basic element of my presentation, which is that most of our practices, as organized practices, are very, very poor in the narrative sense. So there is a big filter between the relative narrative richness of face-to-face encounters with groups and what surfaces there in narrative terms and on the faces of people and in their posture and in the color of their voice as a reflection of injustice, of frustration, but also of joy and of connection. This is almost completely disconnected from relational discourse, from organizational logics, from recognized and esteemed professional quality I do not think that I'm not very much impressed by the extreme where we say the most important and deep questions in our life, there our language ends. This is a big tension also in Malcolm's Horatie, because she says it goes about literature concerns what we cannot talk about, and then she develops this very intelligent and deep discourse on this, which we cannot talk about. So as he refers to these beautiful books, so it's one of the wonders, I think, of the intimacy of our language and our bodies, that we are able to articulate in a provisional way what really is important for us. But in a certain sense, this has been organized away. And the big importance of post-secularity is the prospect of bringing this in new forms into our institutions.
Wonderful. On that note, it seems to me that we have absolutely squeezed every item of information from the board. Is anybody else who wishes to add? Well, join me in thanking our generous and absolutely insightful and inspiring team.